Breaking news out of Tuscaloosa, a massive flip for the Crimson Tide on early signing day 2022 as the Iowa commit now and Alabama signee Kadyn Proctor makes a decision here to join up with his 2023 Alabama class. Big time news as we continue on with day number one of this early signing period. Bone, how about it as Alabama lands Kadyn Proctor?
This is why you don't stop recruiting players as soon as they commit somewhere, especially if it's not signing day. You're going to recruit kids all the way until the end, and I think Alabama did a tremendous job with Kadyn Proctor. Alabama was in the top two for Kadyn when he announced his commitment to Iowa back in June. We knew that right before that commitment happened, we knew that Alabama was in a really I would say they were in a really good spot with him. And then he ends up taking a visit to Iowa that weekend, and all the momentum kind of shifted into Iowa's favor. There was a lot of pressure to stay in state. He's got some friends on the Iowa football team, but also friends that are just regular students at Iowa. And you can imagine being the number one recruit in the state. A lot of pressure. He grew up an Iowa fan, so it's not like he just grew up, a fan of some other program. He always grew up, wanting to play for Iowa. But in the end, he decides to make, the best decision for his future, which is the University of Alabama. I think that Eric Wolford, Freddie Roach did a great job, recruiting him from start to finish. And, they basically said, hey, you're committed to Iowa, but if you're going to allow us to continue to recruit you, we are. And that's what they did throughout the last several months. And they ended up making a few visits to him in the month of December. Nick Saban went and saw him the first day of the contact period. I think it was December the 2nd. And then Eric Wolford, Freddie Roach go up there and saw him a couple times over the last couple weeks. And then Kadyn Proctor ends up making a trip back to Tuscaloosa this past weekend, spent 3 days at Alabama with his family, and the rest is history. So huge win for Alabama on the recruiting trail, getting its fifth offensive line commitment. And another guy that's going to be enrolling early. We talk about all these other guys who are in the class already. Three of the offensive linemen are already participating in bowl practice with Wilkin Formby, Rock McElderry, and Miles McVay. Ola Salinen, he'll arrive in January the 8th. And now you have Kadyn Proctor also going to be an early enrollee. So getting your 5 offensive line signees on campus in January, really big for Alabama. It's going to be hard to, keep these guys, at least one of these guys off the field. And Kadyn Proctor, very physically advanced as a senior in high school. This is going to, we've seen some, big physical offensive linemen that Alabama has signed throughout the last several years. Guys that have been able to come in and contribute right away as freshmen, whether that's, Evan Neal, Cyrus Kwanjo, and Andre Smith, J.C. Latham, Tyler Booker. We've seen just so many top-end guys that have come in and had success right off the bat. This is a guy, and I've talked about some of these other offensive linemen in the class that may need a year, maybe 2 to develop and get just acclimated with everything. This is probably the one guy in the class that I feel like can come in and make a big contribution as a true freshman. I don't know if I'm ready to say he's going to come in and start as a true freshman just yet, but I think he's going to have an opportunity. I mean, he's just, physically very advanced and, very strong. He's a big dude. I mean, he's listed at 6'6". I'd be surprised if he's 6'6". I think he's probably close to 6'7", maybe even taller than that. So this is a huge recruiting win for the Crimson Tide over Iowa because other schools were in it. Oregon made a late run at them. Colorado tried to make a late run at them, but in the end, it really came down to Alabama, Oregon, and Iowa. And Alabama ends up winning this monumental recruiting win on the offensive line front.
Yeah, and like you said, monumental. I think that's a perfect word to describe it. This is the number one player in the state of Iowa that Alabama's able to pull out of the home state there, getting him to flip away from the Hawkeyes. What was that final factor, maybe final factors that ultimately made him make this decision here on signing day?
Well, I think it's just, the development of the position, the ability to compete for championships, the ability to play at a very high level, ability to compete against elite players every single day in practice. Not just on Saturdays. When you're lining up against SEC competition, but when you're playing. When you're lining up against on Monday through Friday, a guy who was a 4 or 5 star recruit coming out of high school that could potentially be a first round draft pick. So you're going up against guys who are going to be playing in the NFL every single day at practice. I think the development, obviously, the relationships with the coaching staff, and just the way that the Alabama program is set up. It's set up for these players to have a ton of success on and off the field. And I think those are some things that really, played a big factor in his ultimate decision.
And you love the competition this is going to create too here, with these midterm enrollees all getting to Alabama now, driving each other. Somebody's got to fill in that spot. You'd like to see at least one of these freshmen get their opportunities. So hopefully some of that competition being created there. And Kadyn Proctor, no doubt, is going to add to that as well. As he flips away from Iowa, joins up with the Crimson Tide, now signs his letter of intent. Guys, for more on this and all the latest in Alabama football recruiting, be sure to check us out at BamaInsider.com. Don't forget, hit the like button on this video, get in the comments section, and subscribe to our channel. It's free, guys. And when you subscribe, you're going to be first in line for everything going on in the world of Alabama football. Big news here, though, Bone, is Kadyn Proctor has flipped away from Iowa and joined up with the Alabama Crimson Tide. For Andrew Bone, my name is Trey Anity, as this has been a Bama Insider breaking news update.